Hello, I'm Julianne. At 32, I used to be a barista, and I have a secret. This is the tale of how I turned a vacation exclusion into the most costly lesson my mother-in-law ever experienced. If Julianne's not going, then I'm not going either, Oliver declared, his voice slicing through the awkward silence. The tension in his jaw revealed the anger he was trying to suppress. Morgan's expression hardened into a look I had come to recognize all too well during my 3 years of marriage to her son. That's absurd, Oliver. The whole family will be there. Your cousins are flying in from Europe. You can't skip it just because your wife isn't going. She paused, searching for the most cutting words she could muster in polite company. Comfortable in luxury settings. She's right, Oliver, his sister Vanessa added, her wine glass dangling from her fingers. Julianne would feel so out of place. Remember how overwhelmed she was at the yacht club last summer? What Vanessa conveniently left out was how she had accidentally spilled champagne on my dress that day and then loudly offered to buy me something more suitable while the other guests pretended not to hear. I gently touched Oliver's arm. It's all right, I whispered. You should go with your family. The triumph that lit up Morgan's face made my stomach churn. She thought she had won, just like every other time she had tried to drive a wedge between Oliver and me since the day he brought home that coffee girl he had fallen for. When I first met Oliver at the coffee shop where I worked while pursuing my master's in business, he stood out from the other affluent customers. He was kind, genuine, and never made me feel inferior for serving coffee. When we fell in love, I believed I had found my fairy tale ending. I had no idea his mother would dedicate her life to tearing us apart. Morgan Andrew wasn't just wealthy. She was old money rich, the type who viewed anything less than a private jet as slumming it. From the very beginning, she made it abundantly clear that a coffee girl was not welcome in the Andrew family. Darling, she would say to Oliver while I was right there, do you remember the Rothschild girl? She just returned from Paris, still single. For 3 long years, I endured her relentless belittling at every family gathering. Oh, Julianne, dear, is that dress from a department store? How fascinating that you used to serve coffee. It must be so nice to never have to work again. What Morgan didn't realize, and what no one except Oliver knew, was that while I was making coffee and studying, I had also been investing in cryptocurrency since its inception. Those investments had blossomed into a fortune that would make even the Andrews appear middle class. Yet, I remained silent, living modestly and reinvesting my earnings. Oliver respected my wish to keep my wealth under wraps, understanding that it was the only way to discern who truly valued me for who I am. As the dinner for vacation planning came to a close, Morgan was practically radiating self-importance. I've booked the entire Royal Pearl Island resort for 2 weeks, she repeated for what felt like the 5th time. Private beaches, personal chefs, helicopter tours, only the best for the Andrews. I smiled and nodded, even as she clearly excluded me from the guest list. But as we drove home that night, I wasn't scheming on how to change her mind. Instead, I was checking my phone for a very specific email. 6 months prior, when I first heard Morgan express her desire to book Royal Pearl Island, I had made a few discreet inquiries. The resort had been struggling financially due to the economic downturn, and its owner was seeking a quiet buyout. Through a network of shell companies, I had acquired not just the Royal Pearl Resort, but the entire island. I had kept the previous management in place, knowing this day would eventually arrive. The email I was anticipating arrived just as Oliver turned onto our street. Acquisition complete. All paperwork finalized. Royal Pearl Island is officially yours. You're being unusually quiet, Oliver remarked as we stepped into our humble abode. The homepage kept suggesting we upgrade to something more suitable for Andrew. Just pondering, I responded, unable to hide a slight grin. I truly apologize for my mother, he sighed, loosening his tie. I'll inform her tomorrow that we're both staying in. I took his hands in mine. Actually, I believe you should go. His eyebrows raised in astonishment. Without you, no chance. Trust me, I said, as a plan began to form in my mind. I think it's time your mother understood that appearances can be misleading. The following morning, as the Andrews boarded their private jet to the Maldives, I made another call. It was time to put my plan into action. Morgan had no clue that her ideal vacation was about to impart an unforgettable lesson about judging others based on their backgrounds. While their plane cruised somewhere over the Indian Ocean, I was making my own arrangements. My laptop displayed the resort's security feeds, a feature the previous owner had installed that was about to prove extremely beneficial. I had established a secure connection to the resort system that allowed me to monitor everything remotely from our home office. The Andrew family arrived at Royal Pearl Island Resort late that afternoon. I observed through the cameras as Morgan guided the group across the pristine white sand beaches towards the luxury villas. She was already scheming how she'd flaunt this exclusive experience on social media to make her society friends envious. "Welcome to Royal Pearl Island," the resort manager Jace greeted them with the knowing smile I had briefed him on. "We've been expecting you," Morgan beamed. "Everything looks flawless. I trust the presidential villa is prepared for me." "Regarding that," Jace replied, checking his tablet with feigned concern. "There appears to be a slight change in arrangements. The owner is currently occupying the presidential villa." Morgan's perfectly groomed face fell in confusion. "That's impossible. I specifically reserved the entire island. No other guests were meant to be here." "The owner isn't a guest, Mrs. Andrew," Jace explained with patience. "They own the property and have the final say on all accommodations." "Well, who is this owner? I demand to speak with them." Morgan's voice escalated, prompting other family members to gather around. Jace maintained a polite smile. "Of course, if you'll all follow me to the main pavilion, the owner has left specific instructions for your arrival." The family was escorted to a beautiful open-air pavilion with a view of the ocean. A large screen lit up, and a video started playing. My face appeared, and I watched through the security feeds as Morgan's jaw literally dropped. "Hello, Andrew family," my recorded self greeted cheerfully. "Welcome to my island." "Yes, you heard that right. I own Royal Pearl Island Resort along with several other luxury properties around the globe." The stunned silence was shattered by Morgan's gasp. Oliver struggled to hide a smile, having been informed of the secret just before boarding the plane. I had pulled him aside and whispered the truth about my wealth and ownership of the resort. "You see," I continued on screen, "while you were busy judging me for making coffee and assuming I couldn't afford luxury experiences, I was actually building an empire. That coffee girl you left behind, she's worth more than the entire Andrew fortune combined." Morgan slumped into a chair, her designer purse tumbling to the floor. Vanessa's face had taken on a rather interesting shade of green. "Now, regarding your accommodations, Morgan, you'll be staying in our economy villa. It's quite basic by your standards, but as you mentioned, some people need to learn their place. The rest of the family can select from our standard rooms." "This is outrageous," Morgan shrieked. "I paid for the presidential villa." "Your deposit has been refunded," Jace informed her smoothly. "The owner's decision is final," the video continued. "Oh, and Morgan, remember how you said luxury resorts can be overwhelming for someone of my background? Let's put that theory to the test. I've arranged for you to work as a server at the beach bar during your stay. Consider it a learning experience about judging people based on their jobs." Morgan's face contorted with rage. "I will not. Do you know who I am?" "Yes," Jace replied calmly. "You're the mother-in-law of our owner who has left strict instructions. If you don't wish to comply, you're welcome to leave, though the next flight out isn't for 3 days." What followed was chaos. Morgan threatened lawsuits, demanded phones, which mysteriously had no signal, and even tried to arrange for a private helicopter, all unavailable by my orders. For the next 2 weeks, the mighty Morgan Andrews served drinks to her own family members, wearing the standard staff uniform she'd so often mocked. Every time she delivered a cocktail, the server badge gleamed with her name, Morgan Trainee. But this isn't just a story about revenge. On their last day, I arrived at the island, having timed my private flight to coincide with their final day at the resort. Morgan was serving at the beach bar, her designer clothes replaced by the simple staff uniform, her carefully maintained appearance wilted in the tropical heat. "Having fun?" I asked, sitting at the bar. She stared at me, her anger seemingly replaced by exhaustion. "Why did you do all this?" "Because you needed to learn that worth isn't determined by background or bank accounts," I replied. "Every person who served you a drink, cleaned your room, or cooked your meals is a human being deserving of respect." Tears formed in her eyes. I never thought about it that way." "I know," I said softly. That was the problem. From that day forward, Morgan Andrew was a changed woman. The experience of walking in someone else's shoes literally transformed her perspective. She started a foundation providing educational scholarships to service industry workers. And yes, she finally learned to treat people with respect regardless of their job or background. These days, our family dinners are different. Morgan inquires about the lives and aspirations of the serving staff. She recalls their names and personal stories. Last Christmas, she even took it upon herself to serve dinner, claiming it helps her remain grounded. The Royal Pearl Resort. It still belongs to me, but it now operates a distinctive program that allows privileged individuals to experience working in service roles. Morgan plays a key role in managing it, sharing her journey as a cautionary tale regarding prejudice and pride. As for Oliver and me, we continue to savor our morning coffee at the same cafe where we first met. Occasionally, Morgan joins us, engaging in friendly conversation with the baristas she would have previously overlooked. She has come to understand that true character is not defined by how you treat your peers, but by how you treat those you once viewed as inferior. Just last week, she surprised me with a handmade photo album filled with memories from that notorious island getaway. On the last page, she had written, "Thank you for showing me that the best perspective on life comes from stepping down from your high horse." I keep that album in my office at the resort, serving as a reminder that sometimes the greatest luxury is not about high thread counts or private jets, but about recognizing the value in every individual you encounter. And Morgan, she still works one shift a month at the beach bar. She claims it keeps her humble.